Hello, Dr. McKenna class. My documentary is based on Alex Gibson's documentary, Taxi to the Dark Side. As for our first question is if the documentary accurately portrays what we know about the topic. I would have to say that it does, but it doesn't, because it accurately portrays what is true, but it doesn't portray what we know as American citizens, at least not for the most part. Um, According to a Washington Post, um, a large amount of Americans, 59% to 31% actually, believe that torture of suspected terrorists can be justified often or sometimes. Um, and this was post the September 11th, 2001 attacks, where a lot of Americans just went into fear of terrorists overall. This documentary points out how the U.S. forces incarcerated over 83,000 people since the war on terror began. And I believe that that's a lot, that a large amount of people, and a lot of which a lot of us Americans do not know of. 92% of those detained were actually captured by local militias and were exchanged for U.S. bounty payments, which means basically that there was a certain amount of money put out there, and for exchange of you turn over those that are actually taking part in these terrorist actions, and we will give you money. So only 5% of those were picked up by the U.S. and 8% were accused of Al Qaeda. So that means that the majority of these people that are captured and tortured are innocent people. Um, I believe that that is something that this documentary portrays, that is actually something very much real, yet a lot of us of Americans do not know of. Um, for our second question, of which is if there are any omissions that I believe that should have been included, I believe that one of the omissions that should have been included in this documentary was how enhanced interrogation techniques do not actually work. The reason for this is that even when they were trying to interrogate and trying to find Osama bin Laden, none of these interrogations actually worked. Um, the CIA was able to use their harshest interrogations, and it has been proven that no matter how how much they interrogate, how much they torture these people, if some of them are just willing to die rather than speak of the truth. And many of those which are innocent have nothing to come forward with because they have no involvement in these terrorist attacks. Um, I think that is something that would have made a difference in this video. Um, just because the video bases itself just on a taxi driver actually that was captured, and he was an innocent, and they tortured him until he died. And that is something that a lot of us Americans do not know. We believe that, okay, they're tortured, they all speak up, but they don't. Not because you torture them doesn't mean that they're going to tell us anything. And especially when they're innocent human beings, uh, I believe that if they would have included how, even somebody as big as a target as Osama bin Laden couldn't be captured through these um, terrorist um, detainees being captured, then that means that, all of this torture is for nothing because you're just torturing innocent people. As to our third question, which is, does the documentary highlight the broader factors associated with the topic? I want to say yes, because a lot of us don't know what actually is going on, um, in terms of, okay, people are being tortured and they're getting answers and that's it. But that's not the case. The case is that uh, when the whole Bush administration started, according to our documentary, they sent out military police and interrogators, which had no experience whatsoever. And when they finally caught up to it, the media and even officers themselves that were saying, "Hey, this is wrong. This has no morals." Um, what did Bush say? He said, "Oh, it's just a few of the bad apples that are doing this because we didn't give them permission to torture them," which is, according to the documentary, not true. Um, in the documentary, they interview interrogators and other primary sources, and it establishes how the principal responsibility for this and other war crimes lies on the U.S. military high command. Yet, how it shows how even when people were murdered and during those interrogations, for example, the taxi driver in this case, um, even the interrogator that was in charge of interrogating him was awarded the Brown Star for valor. So I think that's something that it just expands our knowledge on what actually is going on the other side of the picture, and not just oh, you know what, they're torturing people, we're getting answers, the US is moving forward. Because this documentary shows us, hey, there's more to the picture, and there's more to just torturing people, because we're torturing innocent people and they're dying because of it. In this case, the taxi driver, even if he would have survived, it is described that he would have had to have his legs amputated because, um, as a result of the beating, it was as if a bus had ran over his legs. Another part of this is the that I believe that Americans should know, and I mean, it's just something that this documentary describes that many people don't talk about, or they don't take it as in something that is important, is a lot of the torture techniques used to get their war prisoners to talk. That is, if they even have anything to come forward with, because you're talking about people that 92% of them were brought in by their own, and many of them, as described in the documentary, were just brought in. And I could have said, hey, I need money. Let me tell them that this person is is doing something, when in reality they're not. Um, I think that things that we are not aware of, such as torture techniques, such as sexual assault use and humiliation techniques. Examples of this would be them being sodomized with broomsticks or rifles. Humiliation techniques would be us Americans saying the Pledge of Allegiance or singing Christian music to them. I believe that everything should be respected, no matter what type of prison you are. The U.S. is always been, I mean, at least to our prisoners, to people that are in our prison system right now, they have a lot of rights. I don't see why war prisoners would be any different. We have rapists in our prison system, we have murderers, we have people that, our own people that have gone against us, and we don't treat them the way that we're treating those people that are seen as terrorists from another country. Another technique was sleep deprivation, in which in the documentary it explained that after 3 days of not having sleep, they were useless, and after that they would start having hallucinations. Um, it's just something that throughout the video I found very, very disturbing. And that's just like a small part of it, because they also talk about how they use others just as waterboarding, uh, where they basically put a cloth over the person's head and It gives them the sensation as if they're drowning, pretty much. Uh, Another one of these would be where they were forced to be nude in front of each other or being interrogated by another female. The reason for this is because over there it's a third world country, so they have no respect for females. And when they would turn their heads and they didn't want to be interrogated by the female, they would just get beaten. Um, they would be suffocated. Um, they would be placed in extreme heat or extreme cold weathers. Um, there would be psychological techniques used on them. It's just something that this documentary highlights, and it goes farther than us just knowing, hey, we're torturing these people, we're getting answers. And the reality of things is that we're not getting answers. And a lot of these people are suffering because the US people let it happen, because we're not speaking up, because we don't know what's going on. At least when I saw this video and I saw the photos, I was like, hey, this is inhumane. It goes to the extreme, as in looking at these people and you no longer see them as humans. um would I recommend this documentary to anybody that's a non-criminal justice person? Yes, I would, because I think that this video doesn't just it's not something that just benefits us criminal justice majors, but it benefits everybody, because a lot of us Americans are blinded to what the media wants to show us, and that's it. But we don't search for more answers. We just go by what everybody else knows, and this comes to show us that, hey, if this is really happening, if this is really true, and we are treating these detainees, these war prisoners, the way that this documentary shows, then we are no better than those third world countries that we're fighting. We're no better than Al Qaeda, because we're treating them the way that they would have treated us, or maybe even worse, because we're so anxious to get answers that we're grabbing innocent people that we're not even sure have any answers for us and torturing them. And it's just a wake up for us Americans that, we always like to brag, like, oh, like, we're a better country than them, we're better people, these people are just bombing each other, when in reality we're not, because we're not setting an example. We're treating them worse than we would treat our own animals, basically. And it's just sad that even I would hate to be a soldier over there and have to live through that and come back and try to be humane to other people. It's just difficult to go through that and then just come back, and it's just something I wouldn't want to go through. And I just definitely would want other people to watch this video so they can grasp an idea, just at least, and for them to realize that, hey, there's things out there that we could change. There's things out there that are not right, and just because these persons have other people uh, that are bad doesn't mean that we are. It's kind of like, in our case, we're a lot of Latinos here in Laredo, Texas, and punishing everybody based on the crime in Mexico, just based on, I think this person might be not innocent, and us being captured and tortured, when in reality we might not even know anything was going on, other than we are fearing them as well. So this class was based on my documentary on what I got to research, and I hope that you learned something from it as well. Thank you.